Hello everyone, this is Diane. My Shabby Chic Ledger journals are finished and I'm ready to show them to you. They are quite large. They measure about 8 inches wide and about 10.5 inches tall. So those are pretty big journals. They have a 2-inch spine with 3 signatures, and I believe there are something like 13 folded pages in each signature. I'll have to get that exact number in this video, like in the description, but both of these journals are already claimed. So I'll just tell you right now that my next project is going to be smaller journals, smaller little fun things, and I won't reserve any of those. I don't know how many I'll make. I'm thinking 5 or 6. And I just want to put them all in the shop. So I hope that you will watch this anyway, even though they won't be listed in my shop except for, as reserved for a couple of customers that requested them. So before we get into them, let me also tell you about these envelopes. These are jeweler's envelopes with the big long flap. I used to carry them in my shop once upon a time, and I had them in craft color and a light blue and a white. And I have some of each color in my own stash. So I wanted to use them, and I gessoed them and decorated them. Well, the craft colored ones have a different sort of opening, and they were fine. I was not careful enough with the other two. Their opening is curved, and they are sealed shut. I can't open them without cutting the envelope. So I'm putting them in anyway. I decorated them before, I decorated this part anyway, before I realized that I couldn't get into them. But there's lots of space for writing on them. So each journal is going to get one that opens and has a tag in it. I'll show you the tag. And then the other signatures will have the 2 that don't open, but there's still lots of writing space, and they're decorated. And I don't remember which one of these journals already has the envelopes in it. I don't remember which one, but I'm going to put these in the one that doesn't have them. So let's go through, let's just pick one and go through it. So this was made with a vintage ledger book. I Mod Podged on the front a ledger page from 1918, and it has the date right up there, and you can see the pencil writing, but it's Mod Podged, so that pencil is there to stay now. And then I just did some collaging on it, and I added some of my cellophane tape that I colored with alcohol ink to make it look old. I put some Tim Holtz fabric on it that I've been hoarding. It's got typewriter images and keys and stuff on it. And I did a collage on the back of this one because the back of this had been water damaged. It's just a little bit warped right there. And I also covered the inside because there was water damage in here. The other one I didn't cover. I didn't put end papers on. So you get a little extra collage on this one. And there's a really pretty gimp trim that matches the fabric really well. On the inside is just a piece of Prima ledger paper with a Kate Greenaway image and a label that you can write your name on. And on the back side is the same paper, but this one doesn't have the Kate Greenaway image. I cut that part off. But you have this you can write on if you'd like. There's a little section down here that says note. So as I said, these are Shabby Chic ledgers, so they have a lot of number images and ledgers and lined papers, flowers and lace, and some pretty lady images too, to make them more shabby chic and feminine looking. So here's an example of one of the floral images that I have in here. It's a giant rose, and this is from a vintage ledger book, and you can write on that. I put a little fabric cluster here with some seam binding, and there's some lace sewn there. I staggered the lace on the edges, so there's some at the top, some at the bottom, and some in the middle. On the white pages, I used a couple of stencils and some of my number stencils that you find in the hardware department. This is pink dyed paper that I just got from my friend Pirio, and I stamped. This is a vintage stamp. Well, that one says copy. Here it is. It's a vintage stamp that I got. I think I got them from the Paper Basket. I got them both on Etsy. I happened to see that she had these available, and I purchased them. So this one is paid. I did some stamping on the pink paper too. This is a calendar page with some more lace on it, and this is the page I did a collage on with a vintage ledger as a background. And these two images are from Dreams, Etc. And these are stamped images, and then some of my aged cellophane. This paper that I used in the book, there's 2 pages in each signature. These are from Nostalgia Graphic Land, and I will link the video, or link her below. I used a lot of different digitals from a lot of different sellers. So I'll try to link Dreams, Etc., Nostalgia Graphic Land, and Old Design Shop, because they're the ones that I use the most of. This is from a computation book with someone's work in it. That's quite a large, sort of like a composition book. This is a K & Company paper. It's just a little, it was on a little pad, and I attached it to a 1930s billhead paper so that it could be a flap. And you'll see the rest of that paper on the other side. For this paper, it's coffee dyed scrapbook paper, and I sewed it to a cut-off piece of scrapbook paper to extend the size of the page. And I made a pocket, double pocket, out of some pieces of paper. I stamped this, and this is from the Old Design Shop. Nostalgia Graphic Land. And the Old Design Shop. This is from a manila file folder that was copy dyed, and I left the tab part on it and stamped on it and collaged on it. And I included a digital tag. This is from Ephemera's Vintage Garden. Did a little stenciling on the back, and then this is the envelope that works. So I looked on my computer, and I do have in my document folder, and I do have the digitals that I used for these Dreams, Etc. So it came with these figures and the tickets. Anything you see with the black outline is from her, but I believe these butterflies are also, they're all from, I got like a big bundle kit, and this is part of it. I think you can buy some of the elements separately, but I bought the big bundle kit quite several years ago. This is from a book on art. So this is Whistler's, one of his studies in white paintings. I think that was a book on American artists. This is an embossed wrapping paper, really pretty, and I rubbed ink on the back to make the embossing stand out a little more. And this is another one of the Nostalgia Graphic Land papers. The backing, what I printed on the back of these papers is from tailor-made journals. This paper is from a scientific experiment book. This one doesn't have any writing on it, so there's lots of space for you to write. From the art book. The Little White Girl, this is called. He did several paintings of girls wearing white dresses, they were studies in white, painting in white. This paper, I did have the pad right here, but I don't see it, so I guess I'm not going to show it to you, but I've had it for a long time, and it came just like this. Here's the other side of it. This. So it had this shaped end, and it's got ledger and flowers on it and different designs on it, so I used one in each signature. There's some stamping here. This was a 12 by 12 page that looked like file drawers, and I think, or library card drawers maybe, but I think I just purchased this sheet by itself. Oh, sorry. At Hobby Lobby, one of the individual sheets you can buy. And I just cut it into a 4-drawer unit, but left a little bit at the top so I could fold it under and make it a flap. And then this is one of the vintage ledger pages that I had cut up. It's got a black ink smudge on it, so that's vintage. And then this is one of the images I created, one of the embellishments I created out of file folders and stamps. Here's the bill head, the computation book, and the other side of the calendar page. We have this really pretty pale pink embroidered piece of trim that I sewed to a cardstock grid paper, and I included a vintage blue flash card with a fabric cluster stitched to the top. And this is a fragile piece from a very old little notebook with ledger lines on it. It was I think I have it in here. It's a railroad book, and this is the size of it. But I don't know that this was used in connection with the railroad. It says First Ward, Second Ward, and it's got names. I'm not sure what it was used for, but it's very fragile. So I would probably tear this up and use it in collages. But it's in here for you to do what you want. I'm going to tuck it behind that. It's a calendar page. Some more stamping here. And here's where I stamped this one. It says copy. I used a little sack here that looks like lined notebook paper and did collaging on it and added some tape that I distressed, and I had 3 extra pages of the Nostalgia Graphic Land digital kit, so I trimmed it down. I cut the file folder piece to fit inside this sack and then trimmed this down to fit the file folder, added a tab, fabric tab, and it goes in there and get a nice big card to write on. So here's the second signature, and this is the piece of vintage ledger that you get to write on with a little cluster. So we're going through with the same kinds of pages. Here's the collage for this signature. This is from one of the older computer pages, and it's attached to that the bill head paper, so it's a flap. For this pocket, I just did a little collaging. I've got a white corrugated heart that was gessoed. This is from Nostalgia Graphic Land, and I stamped that. Nostalgia Graphic Land and Old Design Team. Old Design Shop. This is one of the collages that I made, a little card that I made with the file folder, coffee dyed file folder. I stamped on that and added some embossed wrapping paper and this digital floral piece from Tsunami Rose. And tucked behind it, I have a sheet from the amateur radio log book. This was 50 cents. and it's blank on the back, so you can write on the back. And here is a tag that I Mod Podged a napkin to. This is one of the art pages, and here is a lady with no top on, so I just glued on a journaling card. And again here, another lady with no top on. But this is a vintage claim check. Large digital postcard stamped on the back. So this is one that doesn't open. I added one of the elements because where I tried to open it, I tore it, so I just covered it with that little piece. This is a piece of vintage fabric. I believe this is from a little collar. And then this really pretty nylon lace piece that is stitched to grid cardstock. This is the Harrods bag that someone sent me, and a really big tag inside there with a big fat fabric tab on it. And I just added one of the old design shop tags there. And the third signature. This is from another ledger with a little fabric cluster, and this is where I added a piece to the 12 by 12 cardstock to make it bigger. So these pages are so big, there's lots of room for writing. Here's a collage. This is the piece that I used to add a flap to the billhead paper. So this is just a cut-off piece of the grid cardstock. I really had fun making these collaged journal cards and pockets with the coffee dyed file folder. So some of them I glued on as pockets or tuck spots, and some I actually put in the pockets as a journal card, and this is one of them. And that I did a video on those. Old Design Shop tag. This is a little flashcard, and it is a pocket, so I think this is supposed to go in there. Just did a little collage down there. The art book. This is a piece of wrapping paper. Here's one of the cards that I made with coffee dyed paper or file folder. And this is another piece out of a ledger. Looking for a date. 1952. So it's got items and prices. So that'll be fun for you to look at. And calendar page with the lace pocket. Another flashcard, and another envelope that doesn't open, but it's pretty. And a glassine bag. It's got a little bit of embossing here. It looks like ribbon. So I just glued that where the ribbon is gathered there in the center. And this is just a cut-off piece of scrapbook paper. It's got different laces on it, so I thought it was great for my Shabby Chic ledger books. So, so this one is Stay Curious. And I'll go through the next one. try to remember to add one of these in each signature. So this one is called Limited Edition, and it's got the same type of collage on it. It has another beautiful fabric on the spine and some gimp trim. No collaging on the back because the back was in good condition. I didn't cover the inside because I liked it the way it was. It's got the same kind of elements. There's the collage in this signature. This is the flap attached to the bill head. This is a really gorgeous cut-off piece of paper I've hoarded for a long time. I loved this paper pad, but I put it on as a pocket and added a tiny little glassine bag with this little tag inside and a napkin Mod Podged tag in the pocket. This is the old design shop. Here's another one of, oh, this is John Singer Sargent. But their heads weren't in a very good spot for folding. I was thinking that was Whistler's more studies in white. So this is the back of this art book. I can't remember what was on the back, but it wasn't very pleasant to look at, so I covered it with the digital graph paper and more graph paper, different graph paper. There's a stamp up there of the header of a ledger for feed and meal and stuff like that. Another of the file folder pages. Another vintage fragile piece of paper and a flashcard. Here's that notebook paper sack with a tag inside and some collaged numbers. So I assume you're noticing the little bits of aged cellophane here and there throughout the book. This is made with the file folder, coffee dyed file folder. It's just got this scrap of paper that was all ragged on one end, and I loved it, and added a tsunami rose to it. A couple of tags in there. I just am in love with this stamp set from Tim Holtz, Ideology. It's the, I think, is it Ideology? Anyway, it's Tim Holtz, but they're called fragments, I think, and it looks like little fragments of different types of wallpaper, and I love using them. This one is a sheet from the amateur radio log book. Oh, let's put one of these in here. I forgot to put one in the first signature. Just put one in here. This, do you recognize that face? Now, I don't think I'd ever seen this painting, but I knew just by this face who the artist was. It's Grant Wood, the guy who painted this. This painting is called Daughters of the American Revolution. There's two other women on the other side. There they are. This one has one of my time cards that I collaged with a piece of stamped cork. It's got a little metal piece with a number, and there's numbers here, numbers on the time card. So I thought this would be appropriate to put in there. And this is another piece of an old ledger. This one has blue nylon lace on it. And embossed glassine bag with some numbers, some scotch tape, and a little rose. And then I just made this tag out of some scrapbook paper and put a ribbon on top. And the last signature. Love this pink paper. So this one has this scrap of paper that I love, and I cut it down and used it to make a little pocket, but it's a sideways pocket. This says things to do, and this is from Nostalgia Graphic Land. I don't remember where this one is from. I've had it for a long time. It's a digital. And another coffee dot file folder pocket. I'm just going to have to make more of those. I love making them, and they turned out beautiful, I think. There's a painting of a family trying to seek shelter in the cellar because there's a twister coming. And then this one says Line Storm by John Stewart Curry. Vintage wrapping paper. This one has elephants, Circus Elephants by John Stewart Curry. Lots of room, you can collage or write or glue stuff on there. This is just the flyleaf from one of these books, standard blank book. You can write on it, do what you want with it. I'll tuck this envelope in this pocket. This is lace sewn to the cardstock. And this one is a floral sack. It went right up to the top of the page, so I folded it and made a little tuck spot here. This is a vintage coat room check. And I just included a card and a tag and a digital postcard in there. And on the back, I just put on a library pocket. It's not vintage. I just inked around it and added a digital ticket, a little stamped piece, and a library card with this little piece of canvas. It says 30 days. And my signature. I hope you enjoyed seeing these two Shabby Chic ledger journals. I certainly enjoyed making them. They were great fun. I had so many things to work with. I think that's why I had trouble getting started, because I just had so much that had to do with numbers and ledgers, and then I threw in the Shabby Chic stuff, and I had a lot of that. So sometimes if you have too much stuff, it kind of slows you down, bogs you down. But we got going, we got it done, and I'm very happy with the way they turned out. So stay tuned to see what the next project is going to be. I know what it's going to be, but I don't want to spill the beans, but I think you're really going to like it. And I will see you then. Have a creative day. Bye-bye.